One of the most difficult things that students have to face is actually transforming the written word into the dreaded presentation. However, with a few simple steps, there are things you can do to prepare, make it easier, and also support yourself better when you actually need to do the presentation. So first and foremost, what you want to have obviously is the written word. And in most cases, this is something that you've prepared in class or written over the course of several days to get that essay that you would have marked as a piece of written work, but also that you're going to transform into your speech. But regardless of whether it starts as a written word and is going to be a speech, it's still the same process. You go through, write what it is you want to say, revise it, improve it. Highly recommend getting your teacher to look at it and give you feedback. But once you're done and you have it into the as good as it's going to get for the time that I have stage, now you want to go through and make sure that it's actually going to work for the presentation you're going to do. So what I highly recommend first off is once you have your initial written work, to take it and actually copy it and put it into Microsoft Word. Now the reason why I recommend doing this is Microsoft Word will give you a word count. So what I recommend you do is you take it, you paste it into Microsoft Word. What this will also allow you to do is just a little bit of formatting, because you can use the same speech text that you now have here to print out to be your cue cards or your notes. Now the first thing that I like to do is once I have a speech that I know I'm giving, I always have how long the speech has to be. Little bits to get that information of how many minutes is it that I need to be in front of the class or in front of a group. And so once I have that information, then I know with the speech that I have how long I need to time things for. So the key thing that I like to do is I like to go through the process of starting my timer and then reading my speech text for 1 minute. And what that will give me at a regular reading rate is what my 1 minute time, how much I've covered. So I'm going to start and I'd go through seeing the sand. When I used to meet people for the first time, my opening line was that I could retell my whole life in just 1 minute. Now, as I said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to spend the entire time reading for 1 minute, but the idea is that after your clock has gotten to 1 minute, you then will know how far you've actually gotten in your text. And in my case, when I read this through, I get to about this stage. Now what that lets me know is that Microsoft Word does its counting to show how many words you've read of the entire speech text. So in my case, I've gotten somewhere to about a little bit past the middle point in one word. In fact, I think when I've read it before, I've even gotten it to here. And what I recommend in that minute, that you're not reading fast, you're actually reading just a little bit slower, because when we do a presentation, we try to go at a slower speed. So once you know your actual speed of what you're going to read, then you have the ability to look and say, if this is going to take me 1 minute to read, and with what remains, I've got about the same amount, I know that this speech will take me about 2 minutes. Now for this specific presentation that my students are doing, it's going to be about a 3 to 4 minute presentation. So 2 minutes of speech text is actually pretty good, because they will be asked to go slower, plus there will also be visuals that they'll be asked to have with their speech. Once you have then the length of your speech that's going to work best for the presentation length that you have to fill, the next thing I recommend is always taking it at this stage, highlighting it, make it into a much larger font size, and now you have initially your speech text. And I recommend putting significant breaks between the paragraphs so that it's quite easy to go down and read it. You can of course take this when you go to print it out and put it on note cards if you prefer, but either way the idea is having it big enough that it's comfortable to read at arm's length. Once you have your speech text, you know what you're saying, the next thing that I always encourage students to do is actually figure out what you want to show while you're talking as well. Now given that most people are nervous with presentations, then The idea is to put something behind you on a screen, especially in this time of large projectors, large screens, color, to put something that people will be watching while you present your speech. Now, first and foremost, what I discourage is putting actual text on the screen. Put it instead, if you need text, put some points in, but try to have visuals that complement what you're going to say. And in my case, what I highly recommend is using Prezi. Prezi is essentially PowerPoint on steroids. It allows you to do an effective presentation without falling back into the standard stuff that people have done for about the last 15 years, which is just doing a slide after a slide after slide. What Prezi, because it's free, it's available to you online, and you are also able to, if you're an educational student, you're able to actually go get Prezi for Education and get pretty much a very full functioning version with lots of storage for free, especially if you use your school-based email. So with your Prezi, the one that I actually have here that students will be able to click in and see, as you can see that Prezi actually has the ability of moving, which provides, because we are all animals at heart, the ability to go and see things faster, and that action of movement makes it quite interesting. Right, now this is a slideshow that I actually put together very quickly. I did this one in 5 minutes by simply going and grabbing a bunch of pictures that I had in my Facebook area, saved them to my computer, and then literally uploaded them all and then dragged and dropped them around, and then created the path by saying here's where you go first, here's where you go second, here's where you go third, and Prezi in the end does all the other work. And so literally I typed in just 2 sets of words, who am I, and then dragged and dropped all these pictures by zooming in into this one place. And then simply went through with Prezi and clicked on the order and pathway that I wanted it to follow. Now that's a very quick way to put together a presentation. You can take longer, but the idea is that it will give a visual while you go through your speech behind you to support stuff. Now in my classes, I also can recommend students can certainly use PowerPoint. You can certainly use a Facebook album. You can put a bunch of photos on a memory stick and bring those in instead and just have them listed in the order that you want them to play. But the idea is to have something visual behind you, because that will in the end be what people look at, and it helps relieve some of that anxiety when you do a presentation. Thank you very much.